This segment has been sponsored by Pro Bikes Caribe. Pro Bikes Caribe, get yours today. Before we get into today's interview, hear a little bit about the book from the author themselves.
Hi, I'm Kizzy Emily Gibbs, a motivational speaker and author from Trinidad and Tobago. My book, Trust Issues, is your self-help guide to unlock, treat, and repair our trust issues and enjoy deeper and more meaningful relationships. Find it on Amazon, Kindle, and Christian Education Center, Trin City.
Greetings, listenership. Welcome to TLC, Tropical Literature Creatives, the podcast where we interview authors of Caribbean heritage about themselves and about their literary works. Today we have with us Kizzy Gibbs, author of the book Trust Issues. Kizzy, welcome to Tropical Literature Creatives.
Thank you so much, George, for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for agreeing to be interviewed, Kizzy.
Thank you.
For those of us who are just tuning in, can you just give us like a brief introduction to your book? Not too much, because we still want persons to come out and buy the book, but just a brief overview to give persons an idea as to what it's about.
Well, it's about that little thing that we talk about, but yet still don't talk about. It's about trust issues, persons who are struggling with their ability or even inability to be able to trust other persons, whether it be within their personal, professional, or even a spiritual level within the community. This is the book for you, where I offer not just my own life experiences where I would have struggled, when I would have struggled with trust issues, but I also offer solutions as to how you can overcome these issues and live out your best life in terms of making great connections, better connections that helps to improve your overall quality of life.
So we really get something out of the book. I like that. I like that. One of the things that I did when I was before this interview, I did some research and I came across a number of titles associated with you. I came across founder and CEO at Freedom to Rise, author, motivational speaker, facilitator, life coach, mistress of ceremony, and entrepreneur. So the question I have to ask is, when do you get the time? Because there are only 24 hours in a day, and I see and I count a number of titles here. So can you give us some insight into that?
Sure, many persons are often in awe when they meet me and they get those titles. And what I say about those things are it's just titles. And at the end of the day, what is really important is how you manage the time and prioritize yourself and appreciate the fact that there are seasons for everything. Not everything goes on at the same time, and appreciating that what comes first. So for me, I'm also a parent of 4 kids, all under the age of 11, and they come first. I am also married, and my relationship comes first. It's all about prioritizing and appreciating that there are things that affect you, the things that need to be addressed, but also appreciating that you don't put your dreams on hold and you do what you can when you can with what you are given at the right time. And at the end of the day, we all are given 24 hours. What's most important is what we choose to do within those 24 hours, how we arrange every hour of that day, and remembering that we have down times to regroup, trust the process towards your rebuild, and come stronger and better to experience your optimal self. And your optimal self needs time. And whatever field you may choose, whether it be to be a founder of an NGO, to be an entrepreneur, I'm also a teacher. You do what you can when you can, given the hours that you have been allotted to do what you can.
I mean, you're giving that response there, and I'm wondering, whether it's the life coach, whether it's the motivational speaker, and then you're throwing a little bit of teacher there as well. No? So we're getting value for money, even though we haven't bought the book as yet. So imagine what happens when we do buy the book.
Very much so. And that's what I do. I bring myself into that book because I believe that all of us have a story that we can tell, and all of us have lessons that everyone can learn from. And we ought not to be ashamed of the things that we have been through, because in that we can not just become our best selves, but we can allow others to experience their best life.
Indeed, indeed. You mentioned something. You mentioned that you use yourself a lot, and I saw that when I let me just say I saw that. I read that when it is I was when I was going through the book. You make reference to yourself a lot of the times, and I was
Mhm.
wondering, what kind of book is this? Is this a memoir? Is this an autobiography? Is this a self-help? What genre would you say your book falls into?
I will choose two genres actually. It's written with the intention to be a self help, self improvement book. However, one of the other objectives of my book is to ensure that persons get back to their manufacturer. So I will also class it as a spiritual book, because at the end of the day, a help self-help books are written to have that intentional instruction to readers to solve their personal issues. And this is what I do within my book by highlighting issues that affect all of us. Hence the reason why I use myself, because I want the reader to understand that this is not outside of me. I help them to see that it's all of us dealing with some issues in our lives. This is how I solved it. These are some extra things that you could do. These are some solutions that I found. These are some solutions that I read from others as well through my research. These are experiences that I've been exposed through from others sharing. And, as someone operating within the field of philanthropists, persons tell you their stories, and listen, it will not be good for you to not listen to those lessons. So it is about self improving, but at the end of the day, I always bring persons back to the manufacturer, to God, because He knows the best improvements we need to make towards becoming our best selves, towards our operating at our optimum, towards being most efficient, for us to operate in our most efficient mode of operation while functioning here on earth. He knows our beginning and our ending. So at the end of the day, I truly believe that though we may be reading towards self improvement, which is what I try to do with my book, I don't do that apart from uh, allowing you to appreciate that you need to improve with God as the center in that ability to improve. We can't do that on our own. We need His help.
Okay, okay. Uh, in terms of the photo on the cover of the book, does that is
Mhm.
that special?
Yes, it is. Um, I also do graphic design, and I always jump at the opportunity to not to allow my own creativity to come out on my book covers. So this is not my only book, but on this particular book, I was very specific about that graphic design. And for me, so for those of you all who are listening and you haven't seen the book cover, so it's a broken hat, and on that broken red hat are strings, white strings. And for me, that represents scars that we all have. Broke our hearts maybe in pieces because of these issues of life. And trust issues comes from so many different parts of our lives that, and in one of the chapters I speak about naming them, putting them in these specific containers because issues and does not exist in a vacuum all on its own. So the parts cracked is like these issues that affect us on a personal level from our past, our ch- childhood, within the workplace. But then you see this white string, and for me, the white represents that purity. It represents God for me as well, and that purity of thought interweaving and pulling your heart back together. So I'm trying to convey to the reader that this is not just about talking about your issues, but it's also about presenting to you that there's a way to pull it all together. And it also depicts how, our hearts, our souls can be so fragile, but it can all be put back together towards healing. There is hope. That's what I want to really convey, that though your heart may be broken and in pieces and it's cracked and you are hurting through these issues, you can't seem to function in the way that you would like to, but there is hope. The string that we could tie it all up together through purity and through peace and pure thoughts and good thoughts of hope, that there is hope. And that's what I want to convey to the reader with that particular graphic.
Okay. And as you put it like that, I think the idea would be conveyed. I think the idea would be conveyed.
Great.
When I was going through your book, it seemed like as much as you were drawing from your personal life in it, it seemed like an action-oriented book. Do you use these books in your workshops that you facilitate?
Oh, yes, I do. And I'm very glad that that was clear to you, because I place those call to actions and ask these introspective questions very intentionally. And what I do is I actually host a free workshop every month where I invite persons to speak and to really dive deep with the book being used as the tool. So started in January, I based every workshop based on each chapter. So we are at June, so this month's chapter, it'll be chapter 6, and we will work on all the issues that comes out of chapter 6 of the book at these workshops. This month in particular, though, I am actually holding a retreat where we do a deep dive and go through all 6 of the chapters thus far. And what I do is I have workbook activities that are there to come together. And this is an opportunity for me to measure the impact and the relevance before actually launching this book, this workbook that is. So yes, there is a workbook to come,
Ah,
and this whole year, this entire year, is me testing all of the content and ensuring that persons are indeed being impacted and lives are being changed, tweaking it to ensure that this is not just a matter of questions that are coming out of me, but questions that are relevant and helpful to all. And I expect to launch that workbook by the end of the year, or at latest by my birthday, February 2025. So I look forward to seeing how that particular piece will impact those readers. So I expect that when you get the book from next year, you will have the accompanying workbook to go along with that. So you have a whole 360 experience.
okay. Should have seen that coming. When you go through the book, it just seems like the logical thing to have.
Mm.
Um, in terms of the book coming together, um, sorry, let me rephrase that question. In your book, you detail quite intimately how the process came about. Can you share a little bit, can you share a little bit of those details to some of our listeners?
Sure. For me, it started up as a very personal issue, in that I would have embarked on different aspects of leadership. Oftentimes, life places us in situations that pulls out different elements that we did not even realize was even present. And that was my experience. And on trying to lead my organization, I realized that I had a lot of issues in terms of delegating and letting go of particular responsibilities. And I will often hear other persons say that that person has trust issues, but often, and even myself, I would identify it in others, but somehow I did not identify it within myself. I remember praying about a, a particularly difficult period in my leadership journey. And one of the things that came to me is look at your issues of trust. You don't seem to trust persons. And in trying to deal with my own issue, I remember writing a blog. I have an online page called Building Upon the Foundation, where I share my Christian views on different topics that relates to the Bible and our relationship with God. So I started off by sharing there, and then one day someone tells me, this seems to be a book in the making. And with the amount of content that came to me, I said, you know what? Why not? Why not make it into a book? It was a very exciting journey for me because it allowed me to really get down into what is affecting my relationship with people. And it allowed me to do the necessary research and get the tools that I needed to apply to myself. And in me being true to self, I don't like to keep these things to myself because I oftentimes believe that we have the ability to make a difference. And how we make that difference is by sharing what we have learned along the journey. So I was able to put all of this in a book and make it available to persons to share in that journey. And what I realized is on sharing, I have a book on trust issues. The first line persons often tell me is, I have some trust issues. I really need to deal with my trust issues. But interestingly enough, when I shared that blog, I got no feedback. No one even placed as much as an emoji. It felt like this silence. But on talking with others, what I realized that act in itself was about trust issues, because you don't want other persons knowing that you too are struggling. You too are struggling with that particular issue. Is one of those taboo topics. You don't want people to know that you are having an issue of trust, because it opens up itself to other issues that you prefer to hide and not let others in. So for me, this has been a very interesting journey, because when I launched the book, that's when persons came and they said, I really need this book, or I didn't realize that I had these issues until I read your book. And that for me is like a big win, to say it mildly, that I can use this book to continue to really impact others.
You had mentioned, getting the book printed, and your book, is it self-published or did you go through the route of having it traditionally published?
So I would have done a self-publishing. I did not go with a traditional publisher, because I really wanted control over being able to create my own graphics and so on, and have that sense of autonomy over the work that I would have been putting out there in the public. And of course, it was more economical route for me to go on as a self-published author. I would have had assistance from some persons to help me in the uploading and so on, but it was at a pace that I can really enjoy and appreciate all the aspects of the publishing journey. So I chose self-publish.
Okay. I mean, you mentioned something that a lot of independent authors, they gravitate towards. One is the control that they have over the process. Some of them want to be intimately involved in that. They want to have their books looking a particular way, having a particular feel, to not feel like it's being censored. And also you mentioned, I mean, the cost factor, because we can't deny that going this road is cheaper. Some persons you're working with a budget, and it is the better road to go when it's at your way your pros and cons.
Very much so. And at the end of the day, in this season of our economics, for me, the traditional publishing offered a more economical option to get my books out to the public.
Oh, you mean self-publishing?
Yes, self-publishing.
Okay.
So
No worries, no worries. Well, having not seen that the book is printed and it has been out for some time, what can you say has been the response to the book so far?
the response has been good. However, I really need to work on my marketing, and marketing can be a lot of work to ensure that persons know that there is a book on trust issues. What I will say is that once persons have read the book, a lot of the persons who purchase are persons who were referred and said, you know what, you need to get this book. And I am looking forward to persons having that experience of reading the book and recognizing that it has value to others as well,
Mm.
and recommending the book. So far, the book has been doing well, but I know that there is a lot of room for improvement, that in terms of work that I will need to put in to let persons know, well, hey, this book exists. Going to the bookstores, I have not been able to get it into many bookstores just yet. It's actually located at one bookstore thus far, which is Christian Education Center, Trinity Mall, upper level. So for those persons who may need the book, you can get it there.
But don't forget Amazon as well.
Amazon as well. So it is available um, as a Kindle version as well as paperback version on Amazon as well. So it's there, and the sales have been a bit slow on Amazon, but locally, by word of mouth, it has been picking up. And by me, letting persons know, which is one of the most basic rules that as authors that we need to remember. Let persons know that you have this book. So it takes the work, but I am willing to do the work to ensure that persons are aware that there is such a tool that exists to help them through their trust issues.
And I like how you describe it, that it's not just a book, that it's also a tool.
That's
And
right.
And also, you also mentioned having to do the work because, again, talking with other authors, one of the things that I've come to learn is that writing the book is part of the process, but you become what's the term that persons use, an authorpreneur. You have to get out there, you have to work on your marketing and your promoting and a bunch of things. And when persons were writing the book, they were thinking to themselves, I didn't know that all of this would have been required upon writing the book. Was that the case with you? Were you fully aware that you'd have had to do the sales and the marketing and the pushing after it was written?
I have to agree with those authors. As a new author getting into the whole stream of things, the easiest thing indeed was to write the book.
Ah,
You get through the book and you really thought you were slaving over this, and you look forward to the launch date, and you let persons know that you have the book available. And then you go to the bookstores and you follow up and realize the book sales aren't as great as you dreamt.
um,
And it takes some work. For me in particular, I am managing, working a 8 to 4 job. I have my kids as well, and you need to be so intentional about carving out time to see your book as a business and appreciate all the factors of that business it takes to be able to push these sales. And it takes also a, a way that you need to see yourself as an author, appreciating the value that you bring to the table in order to push these books out as well. Because one of the things that persons tend to do is, why is your book so important for me to have? They may not tell you it in words, but you see it in the body language amongst all these books. Why do I need to get your book? And this is where you need to step up and believe in what you bring to the table and really focus on the why you are allowing persons into this space and getting in touch with what is the reason why you think persons need to have your book. And I believe that once you connect with that, and I'm sharing that from my experience in the sense when I connected with that why and appreciate the value that my book brings to the table and stop comparing my book to others because you step out there in the arena, my book has 149 pages, and you see someone with 302 pages, and you think to yourself, you're asking for this particular amount as compared to another person. You start to question, do I have what it takes? Is my book of value to persons? But then when those readers read your book and give you feedback and write those testimonials and tell you about the timeliness of the book in their lives. And they tell you that they were in tears and they didn't realize that someone else was experiencing this like they are. It puts you in that place of appreciating how God would have used you as a vessel to bring change. And if you didn't, what the trajectory of that person's life could have been. And you introducing your offering to this world, how it can impact and change the trajectory of someone's life towards better. And that is what motivates me. And I trust that other authors will also be motivated from the standpoint of appreciating what they bring to the table can bring hope, can bring change, can change a life and even save a life. And this is what I hope to achieve as persons read my book.
Miss Gibb, this interview has been very insightful so far, but we're running out of time. Before we bring this interview to a close, do you have any words or encouragement to give to the listeners at this point in time?
Sure. What I would like to encourage, and I will just read a quick excerpt from my book that I really think will be appropriate to wrap this up. What I have shared with you is a journey that I have been through. I am still on my quest to deal with my issues. It is hoped that this would not be the end of your journey, of your own voyage to treat with yours. Trust is something that needs to be constantly nurtured. None of us is above this issue. Some may be further down the road than others, but none of us are freed from the scourge. It is from this place or that place of knowing that this concerns all of us that I felt comfortable to be vulnerable. And I'm sharing that because there's a time where we all need to become vulnerable and share our story so that other persons can really appreciate where you are coming from and appreciate the fact that they are not alone. And where when we share our lessons in how to overcome, we realize that all of us have the hope that we can all overcome. And that's what I would like to leave with my listeners today, that we can all overcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kizzy Lee Gibbs, author of the book Trust Issues. Kizzy, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so very much, Mr. George, for having me on. It is a honor to be here.
Okay. You've been listening to TLC, Tropical Literature Creators. If you've heard something of interest or something you like, reach out to us. Reach out to our authors. Follow us on social media. We look forward to hearing from you.